Hello everybody, I hope you're having a good day. I am going to do some marks on my 16 by 20 gel plate with a Posca marker. Now this was a gift to me from a very kind viewer, and now I haven't cleaned this plate from the previous printing. This is one of the few times where I want to make use of the residue. They're kind of like ghost markings. Now they may show up, they may not, but that's okay. Okay, so those are the light blue turquoise lines. Now I'm going to let this dry for a few minutes. This is an acrylic based marker, and I will be right back. Now I found some of my reusable stencils. Now, these are made of a thin plastic, and they are washable. And they do withstand the pulling from the plate. You have to remember the plate is very sticky, and sometimes when you pull something off, it tears because it's a very aggressive kind of stickiness. As my first layer, I will be using ultramarine blue. and some Mars black. So I start out with the ultramarine blue. Oops. This is what happens when I'm not paying attention. It's very easy to let the paint go over the edge if you're not careful. Let me just get this out of the way. Now, Mars black is the much stronger color than the blue. So the black can dominate easily. That's all right. Okay. I'll just do a little cleanup. Now, had this been a paper stencil, it would have torn by now. Okay, I think I have them all. So I'm just going to soak these so I can wash them. I'm just going to make sure I didn't forget any. So I'm going to go through every square inch and check. Sometimes even if I check, I still forget one stencil. Alright, I think I'm in good shape. Now I'm just going to add some marks, just because. Okay, so now I'm going to turn on the ceiling fan and let this dry a little bit. So when I place a lighter color on the second layer, this is not going to smear. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes under the fan, so most of the wet areas have dried. As you can see, they're not as shiny when they're wet. Now, as a pickup color, this is Soho acrylic, and this is manganese blue. So I will apply the manganese blue as a pickup color. So the empty spaces that you see are going to take on the manganese blue. Hopefully that is enough. Usually my fault is to put too much paint. When you apply too much paint, the first layer will not transfer. What ends up happening is all you get is the second layer and nothing else. So it takes a little bit of practice to figure out how much paint to apply. There's no substitute for practice because everybody's situation is different, and everybody's gel plate is a different size. So there are so many variables. Now hopefully this layer of manganese blue is going to activate the first layer and pick it up. As usual, I'm going to use my Richardson watercolor paper, 22 by 30. This is 135 pound. And I am using the smooth side, not the pebbly side. Now, since I want to pick up the first layer as well, I'm going to give the paper a chance to absorb. the paint by leaving it on for about 5 to 6 minutes. And I'm applying a very firm pressure with my hand, just to make sure there's an even contact between the paper and the plate. Now this takes a little bit of patience, but it does pay off. Because when you do something too hurriedly, it's not going to work. Okay, I'll be back in a few minutes. So I'm going to let this air dry, and I'm going to study this and see if it needs anything else. So I will be back in a few minutes. Okay, I can't leave well enough alone, so I want to do a third layer. And in order to do that, I have cut out my cardstock and arranged them in such a way that the open areas can show off what's underneath. Now I'm going to use one of my favorite paints. This is Soho acrylic iridescent white. And instead of using the pure white, I will get a scoop of it and mix it with this manganese blue. Now hopefully I will come up with a much lighter blue to contrast with what is already there. So I have a iridescent sky blue. Now I'm just going to add a little bit of matte medium. This is fluid matte medium, kind of just to loosen the mixture a little bit. Okay, so I'm going to use my brush to apply it to the open areas. See, somehow with a brush I have more control than with a brayer, because sometimes the brayer will push the paint over the edge, and I don't like that. I'm deliberately leaving the brush marks. Okay. Let me just clean this up. Okay. One more. Okay, so here is the piece so far. And this time I have to be more careful when I lay this down. No, this is in my way. Again, I'm applying a very nice firm pressure with my hand to make sure there's proper contact between the paper and the paint. And back in a few minutes. Okay, it's been about 5 minutes. I hope this works out. Okay, pretty cool. Now, since the last layer is iridescent, there's a nice sheen to it. Now I have to do something about this smear on the top. And one solution for that is when this gets matted, when it's framed, I can have the mat cut to cover this part. and it won't be as obvious, because it's not a good idea to try to conceal this. What ends up happening is you actually destroy the paper if you try to scrape it or erase it. So I'm going to leave it as it is and scratch it up for experience. So I will let this air dry and recap. Okay, here's to recap. This has dried very nicely. Here's a close-up. And I do like the last layer a lot because of its iridescence. And I think it works well with the Posca marker. See, when I shift the angle of the paper, it shines a lot. You can clearly see the brush marks. So the result is a very painterly image. Okay. So there you have it. That was quite an adventure. Now, before I give my closing remarks, I want to feature two more viewers who submitted their artwork to share. And thank you again for watching and subscribing. And please pay a visit to artwhisper88.com, which is my storefront. And any sales or donations will help to keep this channel going. So thank you again, and I hope to see you next time.